Hey everybody, it's Angie and welcome to Hot and Flashy. In today's video, I'm going to be testing out 5 tinted moisturizers. I did one of these videos about 6 months ago, and in that one, it was mainly higher end tinted moisturizers. I had meant to put in a couple of drugstore ones. I got one in there, but it was like $15, which wasn't, the cheapest of drugstore things. And since then, some less expensive things have come out that I wanted to try, so I've included more drugstore items in this video today. So in today's video, I have 3 drugstore tinted moisturizers and 2 kind of medium end tinted moisturizers. There's nothing super high end in here because I feel like tinted moisturizer is the kind of thing that we like to use for more of our casual days. So you don't necessarily want to spend a lot of money on one, right? But you still want it to make your skin look better. Tinted moisturizers are great for days when you don't want to wear a full face of foundation, where you want something more lightweight. I love them for the summertime especially. So let's start talking about the products that I tested today. I usually show them to you in these videos in order from worst to best. I have had such a heck of a time ranking these 5 that I tried today. There definitely is one that I consider to be the winner, and then there's one that I definitely consider to be the loser, and then the 3 in the middle are all kind of like, I don't know, equal, I guess. So you get to see them in the studio light, in natural light, just by a window, and in outdoor bright sunshine. You'll get to see close-ups, and you get to see them all on my more mature, less than perfect skin. So let's get started testing the tinted moisturizers. All right, the first one, and the one that I really do consider to be the worst of the bunch because I really didn't like it very much, spoiler alert, is the L'Oreal Skin Paradise Tinted Moisturizer. This retails for $15 for 1 ounce. It comes in 14 shades. According to L'Oreal, this is a water-based tinted moisturizer with lightweight natural coverage and gives 24-hour hydration. But I gotta say, the shades of this are so wonky. It was so hard for me to get a shade match. Look how many I had to buy. They lean way orange. The shade naming is really weird. But the other thing that I noticed, aside from the wonky colors in this, was the huge amount of fragrance that's in here. The second I opened these up, I was like just bowled over, knocked over by the fragrance. Very floral, very much like a perfumey smell, which you guys know I don't really love. I'm not a big fan of fragrance, and I'm so surprised because L'Oreal makes 3 of my favorite drugstore foundation type products. And so I was so surprised that this didn't land in the top spot and actually came in last. So I applied it on one side of my face with a sponge, the other side with my fingers, and I used the BK Beauty 101 brush on my forehead. It does go on well with the sponge and the brush, but it didn't really go on great with the fingers. The coverage is pretty sheer. It evened out my skin tone minimally, but it doesn't cover spots. The finish on this one is very shiny and wet looking, which of course accentuates my pores and texture. With the rest of my makeup on, it looked fine, but I still didn't love it. I added setting powder in my T-zone to take down the shine, and that helped. This one settled into my wrinkles immediately, and I just didn't feel like it was doing anything for my skin. Here's what it looked like out in the bright sunshine and in indirect sunlight standing next to a window. At the 4-hour check-in, it was starting to wear off already. I was feeling about the same about it as when I had first put it on, which was meh. By the 8-hour check-in, I really was not in paradise with this. It was very worn off everywhere except where it had gathered up by the sides of my nose, where it looked dry and crusty, but the rest of my face looked shiny and there was no coverage. All right, next up is Beauty Blender Bounce Always On Radiant Skin Tint. This is $29 for 1 ounce and it comes in 20 shades. According to Beauty Blender, this is a skin-loving tint that offers breathable buildability and actually stays put. Their skin tint hydrates and plumps with hyaluronic acid and offers a naturally radiant finish with light to medium coverage. I got this in shade medium 1. I applied it on one side of my face with my fingers, the other with the BK Beauty 101 brush, and my forehead with a sponge. It goes on well with all 3. The brush gives the fullest coverage. The fingers and the sponge looked a little bit more natural. On first impression, I really like this one. The finish is pretty with a soft luminosity. It's not a super hard shine. My skin doesn't look wet and oily. I really like how it sits on my skin. It doesn't look super makeup-y, but yet it's giving solid medium coverage, evening out my skin tone and disguising spots. I put on the rest of my makeup. I applied the NYX setting powder in my T-zone. I thought it looked really good with the rest of my makeup on. But the killer on this one is that it settled into my wrinkles right away. It was settled into all my wrinkles everywhere. Forehead, sides of the mouth, crow's feet, you name it, it settled in. Here's what it looked like in the bright sunshine, and here's what it looked like in natural window light. At the 4-hour check-in, it was wearing well and looked good overall. The finish is so pretty on this one. It's not drying, it's not fading away, it isn't showing any redness on my nose, but it's such a creaser. It was making all my wrinkles look 5 times bigger, and you know that is an absolute no-go for me, and I was so disappointed. At the 8-hour check-in, I thought the wear time was pretty darn amazing. It had hardly budged in the 8 hours that I wore it. Of course, it's the one that looks terrible that lasts the longest. Why is that? And it still looked so pretty from a distance, but all that settling, you know, I just can't recommend a product that settles in your wrinkles so much. All right, next up is the least expensive product in the bunch, and that is the Wet n Wild Bare Focus Tinted Hydrator. This is $6 for 0.91 ounces, and it comes in 11 shades. This is a tinted hydrator with hyaluronic acid and vegan squalane. It gives sheer to medium coverage and has a semi-matte finish. That's according to Wet n Wild. The shade I used it in is medium tan. I applied this one on one side with my fingers and the other side with my BK101 brush. It goes on really nicely with both the fingers and the brush. Both sides have about the same amount of coverage, which I'd say is medium. I'd say this is probably the least natural looking of the products that I have to show you here today. It definitely gives the fullest coverage, definitely looks the most like makeup sitting on the surface of the skin. I wouldn't consider the finish on this to be a semi-matte either. On me, it seemed to be a little bit more like a satin to a luminous finish. I did feel like it accentuated all of my pores, all of my texture, and so I did go ahead and set my T-zone with setting powder. When I added the setting powder, I felt like it made this look heavier. I felt like the bottom portion of my face was really like dry looking, and it was making it look older because of the settling in the wrinkles, and it did settle in my wrinkles pretty quickly, and it also had skipped over some of my wrinkles on my chin. Those wrinkles were accentuated. My texture was accentuated with this one. Here's the finish on it out in the bright sunshine with setting powder, and here's what it looked like in natural window light. At the 4-hour check-in, I didn't love it, but I didn't hate it either. The powdery dry look had worn off on my lower face, so that wasn't an issue for me anymore. And it was mainly still in place and looked nice, except for where it had settled into wrinkles. At the 8-hour check-in, I thought it looked fine from a distance. It was mainly still in place. This is definitely a long-wearing tinted moisturizer, and it was evening out my skin tone. It's still really in place on my nose, so that's a good thing. But like here, it's making my lip wrinkles look bigger. Here, it's making all my little wrinkles down here look worse, settled in my wrinkles, up here on my forehead. And then all in here, it's very worn off. So I can see why people do love this. It's definitely the most coverage, probably one of the longer wearing ones of the things that I have to show you here today. But because it did settle in my wrinkles and it did look a little drier with the setting powder, and it did look a little bit more makeup-y than what I like in a tinted moisturizer, I didn't love this one. All right, next up is Maybelline Fit Me Tinted Moisturizer. This is $10 for 1 ounce, and it comes in 14 shades. This is a lightweight tinted moisturizer that provides a fresh feel and natural coverage with 12-hour hydration. It's made with 76% natural origin ingredients with aloe. The shade I used it in is shade 220. I applied this to one side of my face with a sponge, the other side of my face with the fingers, and I used the BK101 brush on my forehead. This went on really well with the sponge and the fingers, but a little bit streaky and a little bit patchy with the brush. The coverage is pretty sheer, like a standard tinted moisturizer. It evens out the skin tone a little bit, but doesn't cover blemishes or age spots. The finish is very shiny and of course accentuates my pores and texture. It's very natural and skin-like looking, but it did settle into my wrinkles with the rest of my makeup. I really like how this looks. This looks very natural and very skin-like. It was a little bit too shiny, but now with the powder on over it, I think it looks great. It has settled in my wrinkles on both sides here, and it seems to be doing a little bit of settling here at the crow's feet. Very slightly though, not sure my camera could pick it up. Otherwise, I think it looks good, so we'll check back on it in another 4 hours. At the 4-hour check-in, I am really rosy and pink. I had been outside at a festival in the heat. It was about 90 degrees that day. So I thought that even though my cheeks are red from being hot, it definitely was still in place on most of my face, but it had gotten shinier because I was sweating a little bit. Hello, I'm about a half an hour early for the 8-hour check-in because I'm going out to dinner in a few minutes, so we'll have to just look at it and see how it is now. I feel like this actually looks better than I thought it would at 8 hours, but it doesn't look great. I think I am going to touch it up. It's gotten pretty shiny through the T-zone. It's pretty settled into my wrinkles, although in such a tiny, minuscule way that you can't really see it unless you're looking at it in a 10x mirror. I feel like it's majorly worn off here on my cheeks and nose and chin. So I am going to touch it up, but let me show it to you up close so you can see what's going on here. I just added a little bit more and then reapplied my setting powder, and I thought it looked really, really good. So I wore it out to dinner. I asked the girls what they thought of it while I was out, and they all thought it looked really, really nice. So in general, I really like this one. I thought it made my skin look healthy and youthful and better than it actually is for the short amount of time that it did wear. So I'm not offended by this one. Like, it didn't do anything terrible. I think the shade match was good. I think the look of it is good, but it is something that isn't very long wearing, and so if you want it to last all day, I would be prepared to touch this one up. Or if you just want something that lasts all day solidly, then this one just might not be for you. All right, so last product that I have to share with you today is my favorite in this round of testing. It's also the one that I'm wearing today. This is the Slip Tint SPF 35 Tinted Moisturizer. It retails for $35, so it is the most expensive one here today. You get 1.35 ounces, and it comes in 14 shades. This is supposed to be your skincare, your makeup, and your sunscreen all in one. It does have an SPF 35 from 15% zinc oxide, which is awesome. The shade I have it in is 3+half. This is the only product that contains sunscreen that I'm testing today. I didn't use it as a sunscreen. Of course, if I was using it as a sunscreen, I would have to use 1/4 teaspoon of it for my face and my neck. I always apply my SPF 50 all mineral sunscreen below my makeup, so I have that on already, and then I apply this as makeup on top of it. I applied this one on one side of my face with my fingers, the other with the BK 101 brush, and on my forehead with a sponge. The Slip Tint slips over the skin perfectly with all three methods. It gives light to medium coverage that looks very skin-like and very natural. The finish is pretty shiny though. For me, of course, with all my enlarged pores and texture, I'm not into super shiny things, but I don't mind something if it's shiny, if I can powder my T-zone, get that to look normal, minimize my pores, and then the rest of my face is nice and glowy looking. I added setting powder to minimize the shine in my T-zone, and I thought it looked really, really great. It didn't settle into wrinkles either all day long. Let me show you what it looked like out in the bright sunshine, and then here it is in natural window light. At the 4-hour check-in, I really liked how it looked. It's so pretty on the skin and so natural looking. It looks like me, only better. And I felt like it was wearing pretty well for 4 hours. There was a little bit of wear showing on my nose, but it wasn't wearing off in a bad way, and still no settling into wrinkles. At the 8-hour check-in, I still really liked it. I thought it looked really pretty. It was a little bit worn off on my nose by the end of the day, but on the rest of my face, it was still really in place and looking really good. I just feel like this makes my skin look so youthful, so healthy, so natural, like I don't have makeup on, and I really, really dig this one. So I've been kind of wearing it nonstop since I got it, and I think it just looks so fantastic. Like, it's actually really late in the day that I'm taping this video because I put this on much earlier, but my yard guys have been here, and so the power, noises have been here, so I've had to just like cool my heels and wait like 3 hours. Oh my God, I think I hear them coming back with the blower. Anyway, I'd like start recording and then I have to stop recording. Then I start recording and then I have to stop recording. But the point of this is that I've had this on since like 10 o'clock this morning and now it's 3. So we're 5 hours in with it and I think it still looks really, really good. Really skin-like, really natural. I just really love it. So this is the winner today, and I feel like the other ones that I can recommend to you are the Maybelline Fit Me, because I really, really like that one, and it didn't settle into wrinkles too noticeably. It didn't wear that long, but it looked really great on the skin. And I also kind of like the Wet n Wild Tinted Hydrator. For $6, I think that this looked really nice if you like a tinted moisturizer that gives more coverage. It was long wearing. It did settle into wrinkles. All right, so that is it for today's testing tinted moisturizers video. I hope that it was helpful to you in finding a tinted moisturizer that you can love for your skin, because that's what I'm all about, is helping us all find things that we love that make our more mature, less than perfect skin look better than it is. So links for all the products will be in the info box below the video, along with links for all the other makeup that I'm wearing today, dress, jewelry, whatever you see that you like, all linked in the info box as well. So if you enjoyed the video, found it helpful and informative, go ahead and give it a like. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel. As always, I thank you so much for your time. I really appreciate your watching. I hope you have a great day, and I will see you in the next video. Take care, everybody. Bye-bye.